Welcome back to the LCS Lounge. 2-1 for EG. Series point. And we have JoJo stats.
We do.
I'm sorry for those of you who don't think JoJo has been playing well or is not a good player, but he has good stats so far in the series.
Well, I think for me, what this says is actually looking back for TSM, how can they stay in the series? How can they win game 4? You look back at game 1, the Lucian counterpick, the early invade, they did some, I won't call it cheese, but they had strategies that were built around the fact that you're going to shut JoJo down. When you don't shut him down, this happens. So that's why it is such a priority, not just for us to hype him up, but also for TSM to figure out what you do about him.
Yeah, I am curious if they're going to put Prio on an Ahri ban, perhaps, just because that is something that he seems the most comfortable with in these few games. But it's not just that. Like you already pointed to, the fact that so much of TSM, when they did win, was focused on, we're doing this early invade. We are getting Bugi everywhere. Yeah. We are shutting JoJo down, and Insanity is going to be ahead. And once that Lucian was ahead, he was actually able to do such a good job in that game. Here are Bugi stats from game 1, and I don't even think he's had bad early games. I think his pathing has still been pretty good, but he hasn't had that mid pressure, and they haven't been able to snowball any leads.
That's why it's important to talk about the positive that we've seen even in losses. Like that last game that we saw that he was invading Sheiden, got his Gromp, and then forced him off of Wolves while forcing Flash. There was a lot of moments where he is punishing Sheiden. That's a thumbs up. But to Emily's point, you definitely want to see a little bit more of him targeting mid lane a little bit, or in larger fights that they can commit more members to, because that's where they seem to be falling. Because yes, that's my focus right now is Bugi, and I'm actually kind of surprised that they're going to blue side, rather than going to red side to secure the mid lane counter pick. But they are playing the comp that it feels like that's that they are practiced to play, and that seems to be their focus.
I think that's maybe why they're saying blue side is just going to ban out the Ahri. One of the things that's really annoying about Ahri is just such a safe laner and someone who is actually kind of hard. Yes, you can take Lucian and just slam it from level 1, but if you don't do that, come 6, you'll have mobility, have all these tools to both make plays, but also be safe in lane if there's a lot of attention coming your way. So I think blue side, I would expect to see TSM ban Ahri, even though that champion ban has dropped in priority generally. In the current series, it feels critically important.
It really does. And I think EG bounced back in a big way in games 2 and 3 after getting a little bit ran over in the game 1 early game. And since that's happened, TSM hasn't been able to find that momentum again. But at least kind of looking at some of the shots we saw backstage after game 3, some of the shots we're seeing on stage now, TSM doesn't necessarily look like they're checked out or out of it. Like, I do hope that they have something else up their sleeves to pull out at the end of the series.
Yeah, my biggest concern, as we see Unforgiven getting called, just to see if they have a conversation, I'm not sure.
Hand warmer trade.
Oh, wow, they're sharing hand warmers.
Is that a support player? Have you ever seen such a selfless AD carry? I've never in my life.
I mean, you had 18 kills in game 2.
Give me your hand warmers. I carried game 2.
One concern that I have is just basically playing through side lane. And Sandy got really punished when he went through side lane not knowing that there was a TP ward on the side. So, once you get to mid game, where TSM usually plays well, they need to figure out how to play to their strong side in that one. Is he giving it to him again?
So I stand correct, not a hand warmer. Correct. It is a microfiber cloth for cleaning glasses.
Oh, okay.
Very, very handy.
And it's Eyla's. Eyla didn't want to get up?
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's the support roam top, but you also just sent your AD carry to do it.
Wow. It's not important. Okay. I've carried it long enough with this joke. Emily, what do you think do you expect to see in this game?
I mean, I expect TSM to keep their role priority. Like I said, I think TSM in the past game got pretty much the draft they wanted. You can talk a little bit about the Thresh in terms of how you think that fits in. That for me was a little bit of a miss. But in terms of the Kai'Sa mid for Insanity, right? We've seen him pop off on that a ton. Jinx, super comfortable pick for Turtle. A tank like Orin for Hauntzer. And then Bugi on this Rel pick, which, like I said, he's still been having some really good early games trying to affect the map. It's just TSM, when they get to stuff like that Drake fight, they haven't been able to snowball their leads or kind of win those fights.
Yeah, and I wanted to piggyback off the point on the draft, because something that I really loved about TSM throughout the regular season was that they were probably the most flexible team when it came to how they played around Insanity's champion pool and flexing the Kai'Sa is a great example, actually, the best example within this game. They went Kai'Sa 4-5 instead of going Kai'Sa 3 because that point, they were like, we just want to pick our bot lane right out. They know what they're dealing with in Xayah Rakan, so they just picked the Jinx, and instead of trying to make a flex happen, they didn't see it as valuable. That's something that they really found strength in during the regular season, and would like to see a little bit of that back so they can hide some matchups, but that's the only thing that comes to mind that I would love to see from EG going into the next game.
I'm also wondering if TSM would consider, and Insanity plays a lot of things, right? Like even when he first came into the league on Immortals, you were looking at him as someone who was incredibly creative, playing all sorts of different champions in the mid lane. I'm wondering if they might consider going for Ziggs, because we've seen the Trist part of the Trist Ziggs comp kind of banned out. But I still think Ziggs just generally is an incredibly strong pick and could kind of play into the way that they seem to prefer front to back kind of team fighting.
I think the only problem I would have with a Ziggs is while it can get pushed in mid lane, it's not really a strong laner. It doesn't like go do something afterwards, which I think is what we have all kind of said is makes TSM function, is when Insanity can meet up with Bugi and go run around the map and make things happen. And Xayah, even in that sense, can struggle sometimes as well into the RE, not really getting shoved, not really being able to go do things. I think finding an advantageous mid matchup isn't just about winning, but it's also about being able to link up and make plays.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure, but there is a slight delay on stage. We also have Treats joining us from the caster desk. Treats, I believe your mic is on. You can join us for this conversation of what we'll see
from the caster
going
desk.
into game 4.
I'm coming.
He's right here.
He's
Welcome
here.
back, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, you dashed,
Thank
you
you.
ran.
I teleported, yeah. It was a fun cast. I liked it.
What do you think TSM needs to change to have a chance here in game 4?
I think in general, a lot of it comes down from their, a draft, to be honest. I think the Jinx Thresh on paper is pretty good, but I don't think it actually provides that much in mid-game. I think they're trying to play these kite-back comps, kind of team fight front to back. I feel like they could just swap out the Thresh for Renata and it would already be much better, to be honest. Outside of that, I think they have to kind of make use of their early game a bit better. I think Bugi, as you said, Emily, as well, has been playing pretty well in the early game, but I feel like they haven't really got more than 1 kill. I think they need some early dragon. They need to fight for Herald. I think they need to kind of match the aggression from EG to carry their momentum in the game.
Yeah, for me in games 1 and 2, TSM seemed very proactive in the early game. They definitely lost some of that in game 3. Part of that is just because the first dragon fight went completely sideways, but I did like the aggression that they came into the series with.
And I think for bot lane specifically, if you're counterpicking Xayah Rakan with Jinx Thresh, I think you need to get a bigger advantage in the 2v2 for that counterpick to be worth, because Rakan just outscales Thresh after like level 3. So I think if that's the matchup you want to go for, you have to kind of play it more aggressive. Otherwise, I would rather that Chime plays something like the Renata or even like the Lulu that kind of just scales and just has an easier front to back than Thresh.
I think it's also a question of what you do in topside, since we saw game 1 and game 2, I kind of like what we were seeing out of Hauntzer. The Rumble was actually decent, but it ended up falling it behind the Jax from a lot of other things that were happening on the map. It wasn't like an individual laning problem. And then the tank just kind of handshaking, like, okay, go counterpick me with whatever you want. Like, that did not feel very good, and I don't think you want to run that back.
I think the Sejuani is a big part of that problem, though. I think Sejuani makes the counterpick for Revenge be really deadly, instead of it being kind of like a, Poppy Jax. Now it's a Sejuani Jax. Like, it hits really hard. And I think that Hauntzer's champ pool is pretty hard to... It's very easy for Revenge to counter him. I think it's very predictable what Hauntzer will play. So with the Sejuani on top of it, I think Hauntzer's job becomes pretty tricky. I think he's actually played pretty well and not kind of given over a lot of leads. But Revenge is still kind of just hitting his tower in front of his face. I think a Sejuani ban would make that a lot easier.
We're getting into champ select, and I wanted to piggyback off that because I agree. I think the Sejuani is a problem. And Hauntzer didn't even get to really play out the game because it felt lost after the first Drake and he wasn't even a part of it. So if he can keep doing what he's doing, I think they actually worked out well for them.
There it comes through.
About damn time. But this also means we're going to likely see Rel get through draft once again. I don't necessarily think TSM is not going to pick Rel. I think it's been very effective for them early. My biggest criticism of the TSM drafts thus far has been that they haven't built good comps around the Rel. But Bugi, I think, has been performing on the pick.
See EG having a bit of deliberation. I feel like you had to have expected the Ari
Yeah.
ban.
Oh, that is a Rel ban.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Now Xayah is the champ that stands out for me here.
Yeah.
I think Xayah Xayah Rakan kind of kind of depends on bot lane, on preference. I think that for TSM, I don't think they're as big of a Xayah team as they are Rakan, to be honest. EG as well, I think they just prefer Rakan.
That's why I was going to say that the rel ban makes some sense, because last time TSM first took the actual Xayah, and then EG was like, screw it, we're going to go Xayah Rakan anyways, and they got both the rel and the Xayah. So here they're just saying, let's just get rid of the rel. Bugi's been having good early games. We've all said it, so just get rid of the bigger problem.
That makes sense. I mean, it feels like the Xayah is dropping a little bit in priority, just knowing what TSM was also banned with Jace, which has been a really good combo with poke and damage distribution if you have Jace and Xayah alongside the Ivern. I think with those bans, it makes it easier to give it away. They're going straight back to what they've had in the last game. Nothing is changing from Evil Geniuses.
I am super curious now, just because I already brought it up, if TSM are going to go for that Ziggs Trist combo now that Trist was the ban that was kind of dropped, right? So since she got through, I actually think it makes the Ziggs that much more potent. And I'll be really curious, because I do think EG are just going to have a higher prio on the Xayah here.
I think Maokai right now is the champ that TSM is looking at. They flex its support and jungle. I think it's a really strong pick for them. So if I'm TSM here, I'm picking either... Oh, they go for the Sedge instead, kind of a pick away as well from EG. So just lock in Sedge Rumble. I thought Maokai, maybe it's actually a 4-5 pick here for Chime instead of 2-3. I think it still makes sense. They want to play a kind of slow front to back comp, so it would be really good for them.
And I think if they want to get Trist Ziggs, I would see the Ziggs as a mid laner. I don't necessarily want to blind pick that against Jojo, so you're almost just, if you're thinking about it in the back of your head, you're hoping Jojo will blind pick a mid lane, and I think EG will probably just wait on it since they know the top lane matchup. They can just throw Jax into the Rumble once again. This is technically the matchup that Jojo ended the game with 18 kills on, even if the early laning phase didn't go great for him that game.
Yeah, I think the splitting up with the Sejuani is a big deal, because Hauntzer did have a good early lane phase, and also this way you can take it early, not get it banned out. I do like the TSM decision there to protect the Rumble a little bit from more aggressive melees, going for these kind of flippy topside fights.
Yeah, and I'm looking at junglers for Sheiden here. I think Poppy and Trundle are probably the two that stands out. I think you want a strong early jungler to kind of leverage this top matchup. If Jax is just laning against Rumble, he's not going to have a good time, so I think Sheiden needs a pick that can kind of make some magic happen on top side. Viego's another good champ at that as well.
Looking at mid lane a little bit, knowing that LeBlanc and Arya were banned on phase 1 and Tristana can just go mid for TSM, it should. Makes it a little easier for TSM to try and pinch it a little bit more. Trying to see what he would want to go.
I think if I'm TSM, I'm playing a long-range comp. I think Xayah makes a lot of sense here if it's open still. I think Xayah Maokai is a big comfort for TSM's bot lane. It's something they've showed before that they can play, and it's really good lane as well into Rakan. So I think TSM is just adding more and more front to back and range, and I think EG wants to have some more early game options with their comp.
You're talking about Kiteback a little earlier on. Renata and Thresh were just banned by Evil Geniuses too, so it's going to make it a little harder for Chime.
Last pick.
Closing out the second phase of bans here. Again, series point for TSM. They jumped out to a surprising game 1 win.
Silas ban. That kind of tells me that the Maokai might just be coming through.
Yeah.
And good matchup into Tristana, so very understandable to get with that one away. Jojo also has played it before, so that's a very good ban. Oh, no way.
Yeah. I think Poppy is probably the most average option you can go for here. I think, is he gonna go for the Graves as well? That would be kind of crazy.
I like Poppy, you're right.
Yeah,
Poppy is the average pick here, I would say. It's not insane, but it does its job, and you can kind of pressure early game. And I think the champs that are good into Poppy is a lot of Kiteback. I mean, if you want to play something else, you could play something like Kog'Maw Braum, Varus Braum, something that kind of absorbs really well. But I would really like to see the Xayah Maokai here from TSM.
And for EG side, so we wait to see a little bit more picks. You said average pick for Poppy. A boring pick that works really well here for EG is Azir. I think if you just go Azir here, you add a little bit of range and deal with Tristana a little bit better. Any ideas of diving from TSM side? Just specifically Sejuani, Tristana. This is a lock-in. It'd be crazy. I just think Azir would be a great pick.
Well, with the Varus already taken away, that forces the Tristana into mid. So no Azir, womp womp. They're gonna have to just put the Tristana mid there.
Yeah, I think from the side of EG, if Azir is not the option, I think Syndra would be pretty good here as well.
Actually, Sett support.
Yeah, it's Sett support. I mean, it's a very aggressive lane now. They kind of swapped it up and made it aggressive. I think a traditional mage here for EG makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
They're kind of playing the front to back comp now with a bit more early game from Poppy, and TSM are also trying to kite back. I think Sett is pretty hard to play here, though, against Poppy and Xayah.
I saw the Melio hover, and I thought, oh, that makes sense, because they're going to have a lot of poke, a lot of range, and help the double marksman. So the Sett definitely feels like he's feeling like he needs to make something happen early in the Xayah Rakan lane.
Ooh.
And then Jojo just...
He heard you say traditional mage, and he says, no, we don't want to do that. Also goes double melee for solo lane, so very change up there. I thought it was going to be a 4-1 with traditional mage, like you said, but here, a lot of engage now.
Sett got some extra value now as well, I think.
Yes,
I think
he did.
with the more dive from EG, Sett actually does a pretty good job now to kind of peel back and let Turtle and Insanity hit.
Yeah, Jojo's feeling himself. I personally would have loved the Azir pick here, but that's going to be a Jojo game.
Listen, Jojo wanted to play Yone. Let's see if it works out to him. Casters, take it away.
Thank you very much, Lounge. We've got the Varus Sett bottom lane. That was not on my bingo card.
I'm happy to see the Sett come out again because we've had quite a few Sett aficionados in the LCS as supports over the years. He definitely a big proponent of the champion too. We'll see about the playmaking though, because especially coming from support, you are way more squishy. But now it's a lot of dive, a lot of melees. Evil Geniuses running 4 basically melee champs here. Definitely gives the possibilities for big combos to keep people on top of the Rumble ultimates. A lot of AoE here. I think TSM made some good key adaptations. Number 1, primarily, banning away the Ahri, not letting Jojo get the Ahri again. And then switching back up the other solo lane matchups. I have to say, Hauntzer did at least play the early stages of the Rumble into Jax pretty well. Some really good trades from him, getting some health leads, and it was only the later kills that all got revenge right back into it. So let's see. Can TSM force us to a game 5, some silver scrapes here? Or will EG keep up their winning ways?
I always enjoy kicking off playoffs with a full 5-game series, but EG have definitely had TSM figured out for these past couple of games. Insanity on the Tristana. I like him on this pick, but Jojo on the Yone. This is one of those champions that if he gets ahead, he just feels like a cheat code. Like he's really, really strong. And especially into 2 marksmen, he'll be slicing and dicing them up if he gets the leads that he's got in the past couple of games.
And it's definitely a champion that makes most lanes super volatile. And we've already had very big influence from junglers throughout this series. So definitely looking at Bugi and Sheiden super early on here once again. Because EG have set themselves up with 2 carry solo laners for a 3rd game in a row. And they've been performing quite well with those carry solo laners thus far.
Nothing at level 1 just yet. Evil Geniuses hanging around this river just to make sure TSM's not up to anything tricky. They're going for the late invade potential here as it's the auto attack trade win for Insanity, 1-0.
Yeah, and with the Poppy starting on their own Raptors, it will be red quadrant clear here for Sheiden. Poppy, obviously one of the champions that is in love with the Raptors. Massive AoE, especially with the extra buffs that Poppy got a while ago to the Q, specifically for that damage. So Sheiden will do a top clear here. And both those solo lanes looking at level 3 Poppy, thinking maybe we can get some early influence, because Bugi starting bottom side for him, also doing the red quadrant clear.
Well, the big concern I have here for EG is the first game, Sheiden played Poppy, and it kind of felt like he was playing Evelynn. He was invisible. But the 2 Sejuani games after was a lot better. Now that he's back on the Poppy, I'm hoping it was just he needed to get warmed up. He needed to have, like, you know, just have a little bit of momentum there, and he'll be able to have a better performance back on the champion. Hopefully it's not just he can't find the same type of angle with Poppy. Otherwise, EG could be in some trouble here.
All right, well, Jojo gonna start to get pretty low here. Has the potion chugging, has the Doran shield regeneration. Soaking up in mid lane, trying to keep it close here, but Insanity will guarantee the pressure.
-1.
-1 on the cannon, though. He's got the push, but lost out on the cannon gold.
You hate to see it. Jojo stuck underneath the turret, though. Insanity is enjoying the current state of this lane. Remember, though, that things get much more deadly after Yone gets some more levels, especially hits level 6, gets the fate sealed. If he catches the Tristana out there, it can be very, very dangerous. Sheiden now pathing all the way down into that bottom side, as Revenge will be forced back underneath this turret. It's very, very hard for these melee champions to trade into Rumble early, especially if Rumble has the proper heat management to make sure that he's always in the danger zone, and Hauntzer's just constantly keeping the harass on Revenge.
Yeah, I think there was a moment there too where they're communicating possible mid-jungle plays. because Sheiden has gotten a little bit slow with his clear because of the extra stutter time on his pathing. Walking to the other side here, pretty slow transitioning through his blue quadrant clear. So it must have been some calm stuff there, talking about possible openings. Hey, maybe defend against a dive here. And it looks like Bugi will be the first one to go mid. He's got to snap back.
Yeah, Jojo already using the Soul Unbound there as the W is sidestepped. So Jojo not going to take the brunt of that Sejuani damage. Still gets stunned up, traded on at the end. Eyla is making the rotation over the mid lane now as Jojo wants to keep pushing this out. Eyla goes for the flash knockup, but doesn't get what he was looking for. Sheiden also joins, but since EG's not sending everybody at the same time, TSM walks it off, but they do have to spend the flash from Insanity.
And I wonder, yeah, it's a good flash 2 trade here, because with a Poppy jungle, even a Tristana is definitely gankable. Poppy W coming in big. Raptor steal completed for Sheiden there.
Caught back up in that jungle farm. Like you said, affinity for Raptors pays off for the Poppy as Turtle and Chime are trying to get that wave shoved in the bottom lane there. Piercing arrow just thinning that wave out a little bit as Jojo once again wants to go aggressive on Insanity. He knows he has to be jumping on this guy whenever he gets the chance to trade with cooldowns.
Poppy.
Sheiden. There it is. Steadfast presence means no way out for Insanity, and Evil Genius is her first on the board.
So nice there from Sheiden. He flashes to get the charge angle to push him right into Jojo's knockup as well. And there's the payback on that flash trade, Flowers. They say, thank you very much for your investment, Eyla. Much appreciated. We'll finish the job from here. And Sheiden, creative Hex Flash over the Baron Pit. Of course, you can hug the top side. The Scuttle Crab Vision won't see you, and Hauntzer doesn't know.
Hauntzer. Oh, here comes the Poppy now. But Revenge has to be a little careful about this. He doesn't want to overchase Hauntzer on his own because he could end up walking to his own demise. Sheiden again, just trying to cut off any sort of escape route here for the TSM top laner. Hauntzer still does have his flash. Revenge in some trouble as Bugi joins the mix, and Revenge now has to go full retreat mode. Under 200 HP remaining, while down in the bottom lane, we got the 2v2 breaking out all the way. Chime down below 300 HP as the continued fire from Unforgiven forces TSM back.
They're gonna look at a possible dive. Ultimate ready for Revenge. He's burning down. He's
Oh, Bugi picks it up. Nicely done. An alley-oop there by TSM as Sheiden tries to get something back on Hauntzer, but he just doesn't have the damage. Insanity barely gets away in the mid lane, survives with a sliver of HP. There is action all over the rift. 2v2s in the side lanes, the 1v1 back in the mid lane. Hauntzer and Bugi seeing if they might be able to get something else here, or at least crash the wave further, while down in the bottom side, Turtle and Chime going in. Face breaker won't find it. EG gets themselves away, but it didn't cost Unforgiven's flash to do it.
I love it. They're literally fighting to the death in all 3 lanes at the same time. Flowers in this series. Jojo forcing the play under the tower, gets the push in here. Bottom side, super scrappy there. Does not result in a death. Meanwhile, top lane, nice little dive there because you saw the false sense of confidence as Sheiden was starting his recall down here in the brush by the river, but Bugi making the moves for TSM again on the Sejuani is able to complete the kill, complete the tower dive on top side, which again, they did need because of the successful mid focus that Evil Geniuses brought when they brought Eyla over and got the successful kill on Tristana afterwards. Sheiden, another Hex Flash from behind. 3 members going at Hauntzer.
Oh, Hauntzer, this could be troubling, buddy. The flash gonna be used there to escape the Fade Seal, but Sheiden was in a great spot to guarantee the wall bang right after. Even though the Summoner spell was right there and ready to use, it didn't matter enough. Evil Geniuses pick up another kill.
Yeah, I love the patience from Sheiden because he knows there's only one way out for you, Hauntzer. He's going to be the bouncer that keeps you out of your own side of the map here. And even with Hauntzer flashing, then he's got the angle for the stun into the wall.
Yep.
So that is... Hauntzer's probably going to want that flash back, you know, knowing that the Poppy is right there. So wishes he could have held on to that one instead. He dies either way. But TSM, his team, at least gets the dragon on the bottom side of the map in payment for that investment from Evil Geniuses towards top side.
Maybe it's actually a bamboozle. Maybe it's Sheiden mind controlling him because you pop the Steadfast Presence and make him think, oh yeah, I'm blocking you with this, but he knows that it doesn't actually block flash because it's a blink. So then it puts it in your head, oh, I can flash through this. This idiot can't stop me. And then boom, angle's perfect. Slam him into the wall, get it anyway.
Yeah, but he's waiting right next to a wall. Arms open.
He's just making you focus on the wrong thing.
Come to me, buddy. Mind control tech, always a good tech to invest in.
I love it. Evil Geniuses loving the Rift Herald here. Bugi gonna get slammed away by the Poppy Hammer. Keeper's verdict judges him hell no. As Jojo leads the charge in with the Soul Unbound once more, immediately snaps back to the starting point as TSM moves up with Hauntzer and Bugi both. Insanity coming in behind him. They got these ultis ready to use. Revenge just needs a jump over the wall. There it is. Sheiden provides the escape route, and Evil Geniuses get the Herald and get out.
Meanwhile, bottom side, plate acquired for Unforgiven and Eyla down here in the pure 2v2. It was a slight roam up from Chime, so a little bit of time invested there.
These trades from Jojo, man, he's aggro, he's looking for it. He knows Fate Sealed is coming back off cooldown in about 10 seconds, and he can try to go for an all-in if he can get Insanity low enough.
That's exactly why Bugi is coming over to try and gank the TSM relief squad.
There it is. Arctic Assault, point blank range. Stepping in front of him to minimize the distance of the Fate Sealed, but Jojo can still get away in time. Sheiden coming back up into the top lane. He's got his flash this time, and Hauntzer is not long for this world. A little bit more damage is going to be required here, and they don't have to dive so deep that Hauntzer can get anything back.
Yeah, and it looks like even though the Sejuani is coming up river, they didn't even take enough damage with the ultimate plus the tower damage there. So EG unpunished in the top side focus. Flowers, this is the same story. Jax down pretty heavily in CS to the Rumble, but they get the kills. Repeated ganks to the top side to try and get revenge that money. They know if they invest in him, he will pay them back. Last time, it was in the form of an 18-kill game. Payment received, and Jojo doing a lot of work in mid lane too. Does get the tower plate here, as Insanity is able to get back, but so much work being done by solo lanes again.
And the first 10 minutes here have alleviated my fears, my concerns that I had around Shaiden's Poppy. It was just the game one nerves, I guess, making his performance not up to the level that you wanted to see it. He's doing great here so far. He's 1-0-2, full kill participation, making sure he's active and getting those lanes ahead and making sure there's pressure on TSM in the early game.
Yeah, definitely agree. Got the kill in mid lane. Top side though, repeat from TSM. Bugi is here. Revenge, no counter-strike.
Oh, nice ulti from Bugi over the wall. Revenge under pressure from 3 as Hauntzer has to get back away from the turret aggro. It's heated up. Insanity takes another turret shot. He'll get the shutdown and barely survive.
All right, he invests his flash, he invests his ultimate. He also leaves mid open, so they rotate Chime and WildTurtle up, but with the Rift Herald, that thing's gonna crash and get more turret plate for Jojo regardless, while also opening up bottom lane to more turret plates for Unforgiven. Even with the bottom lanes not getting any kills, Flower, there have been so much pressure from Evil Genius's bottom lane, resulting in a lot of turret damage down there, a lot of extra turret plate money for Unforgiven. Sheiden here in the Raptor Pit is seen by a ward.
Chains of Corruption lands onto him, and Chime's going to slam him into the wall, but Sheiden can just tackle Turtle back the other way. Jojo jumps in, but he won't get the knock up there with the Fate Sealed. Shaiden's still running all the way out, 200 HP left. His teammates body blocking for him, and Jojo finds the angle to turn it right back down onto Turtle. Evil Genius is up 1-0 in this 3v3, but Jojo ends up dropping, and it's a mean punch from Chime to take him.
Little ring around the rosy here, Flowers, with the jump over the back of the Raptor Pit, and it ends up also trading the kill back onto Jojo. Sheiden was on a ward the whole time, so they're trying to set it up here. Chime walks around and goes for the dunk into the wall, but then Sheiden just charges over to Turtle, is able to get his ult knock up into flashing Jojo's ultimate. Sheiden gets out. They're gonna get the turn for the kill here as Jojo goes for the flash play with his Q, and they get the assassination, but at what cost? Chime there had a good pullback on the stun onto Jojo with the minions, and that Sett support on the roam is going to get a little smirk out of Jojo.
Yeah, a very different reaction from Jojo here in this one compared to what we saw with the deaths in the previous game around the mid-game phase, where they were throwing away that 9,000 gold lead back down to 5,000 or 4,000 or whatever. There was legitimate frustration in game number 3. Here in game number 4, he seemed to just be thinking everything's fine, not worried about it. It was a goof, and they're still in control. As Chime will Hex Flash back over the wall just to make sure that he can stay by Turtle's side, make sure that there's no playmaking coming out from Evil Geniuses to try to pick him. Ayla, of course, does not have the quickness, still needs about 1/4 of that cooldown remaining. Jojo, same thing with Fate Sealed. Sheiden with the Keeper's Verdict too. So Evil Genius is probably not going to be forcing a fight before those are ready to go again.
Yeah, and even though TSM are down over 1,000 gold here, if they're able to get Hauntzer involved with this Rumble with the, never mind, ultimate down, 50% health, 100%.
Nice.
Health gone on Ayla. Yeah, I was about to say, even though they were over 1,000 gold down, they still have a really good team comp for fighting these early game team fights. They don't even have to bring Hauntzer down on his Night Harvester completed Rumble. They got the pick themselves. Sejuani ult, Varus ult, and that's a dead Rakan.
Oh, but now Shaiden's going in for Turtle, knocking him up into the air with a point-blank uncharged Keeper's Verdict. Jojo's ready. Chime absorbs a lot with the Haymaker, and now Jojo's gonna burn. Hauntzer's in the mix, and he's mixing up Evil Geniuses. Insanity jumps in with the Rockets, and a Vengeance is falling comrade. It's a 3-for-1 for TSM, and they rip the gold lead from EG.
Yep, gold don't mean anything. It's all about items. Hauntzzer had the completed Night Harvester. He teleports down on Rumble. Rumble, the champion, has always loved the early dragon fights. So it's a good counter there for TSM when EG overreach on Turtle, trying to go for that Varus by the tower. TSM, 2 dragons, and they've retaken control. Here's another look. So Chime with the Hex Flash, and then Sheiden, he has eyes for Turtle. He's got a ward over the wall here, and they try and make a cute little teleport play plus charge play, but Turtle able to walk it back to the tower, and then Hauntzer teleports in. Huge damage comes out with the ulti, with the Flame Spitter as well, and Chime went for the ultimate here onto Sett. He didn't even go down in the end, so it was just the 1 kill traded back with the Rumble going down. Sett survived, and TSM now off of that dragon play, full reset into topside Rift Trail number 2.
I don't even think Turtle cleansed anything, because Poppy tackled him over the wall,
he didn't
but
get the stun on it.
Yeah,
So.
I don't even think the cleanse did anything there. TSM still just coming out on top, and now they've earned themselves another objective. It's the Rift Herald going their way as they're about to complete it. Chime starting to fight up against Jojo, but it's going to be Ayla burning down first. 200 HP remaining on the enemy support. Hauntzer nearly has the equalizer. The cooldown is just about to be ready now. There it is. Not quite what he needed to kill Ayla, but he's got the flash for the follow. Jojo drops 2, and TSM's gonna give him something to smile about.
Yeah, and they've got a Tristana on top side. Demolish proc, turret will go poof. Here comes the Rift Herald for number 2. They can just hard push on top side.
Yeah, we've got an EG response in mid on that tier 2, but again, let's go back to the philosophy of split push races. The team with Herald wins. The team with Tristana wins. The team with both is gonna make a mess out of you. Tier 3 turret drop top 16 minutes in. Hauntzer back in the mid lane underneath the tier 2, about to die to Unforgiven. He lives with a scrap shield for an extra second. Sheiden barely gets away, but Bugi's gonna swoop in and pick him up, and Insanity jumps in with a mop and bucket at the ready to clean up the enemy AD carry.
Meanwhile, Revenge is going to finish up on this bottom tower, but he's got all of TSM coming for his head. Bugi on the inside route here through the tri-brush. Insanity gives up on the chase while Turtle's still coming.
And still trying to clear this. Yep. Arctic Assault hits. There's your stun. Turtle trying to get here for the extra damage.
Gotta flash the ult.
Just jumping away. I think Revenge should be okay here. Nope, never mind. We got the ulti into the follow-up ulti. Revenge with a leap strike back away, but there it is. Piercing arrow with a flash from Turtle will pierce his heart. Revenge falls. TSM's up 12-6, and they pick up the mid lane tier 1-2.
Yep, he had to flash the ult there because there was WildTurtle for the follow-up ultimate, but he thought he could tank it with his counter strike up instead. It is going to be the flash follow. They get the kill. Towers going down on both sides. Flowers, action-packed non-stop. This series from beginning to end. We're only still 17 minutes in, and look at this dive. This was the hard Rift Herald push on top side, so EG knew that Hauntzer was by himself. They go for the Hex Flash charge play onto him. Barely lived, and him living that just little bit of extra amount forced Unforgiven to ultimate and go under tower so that Insanity could get the 1-for-1 kill. Then we've got this one here. Revenge tries to just chank it with his counter-strike instead of flashing it, but Turtle is able to follow it up with the Varus ultimate and the Varus flash.
Boom. Goodbye, Mr. Jax. Helicopter down.
Oh, no.
Well, we've got We got TSM at a nearly 2,000 gold lead after they got bodied in the last 2 games. It was looking like EG were the ones with all that momentum, just looking to cruise this after losing the first game in the series pretty handedly. But TSM's fighting back real hard here in game number 4, trying to take us to that silver scrapes.
They certainly are, and they have been this whole series, fighting their best. They came out swinging in game number 1 especially. And if they're able to actually complete this one, push us to game number 5, push EG all the way to the brink here, would be a very impressive performance considering how they ended the regular season.
Yeah.
And they're in a good spot right now too. Dragon coming up in 50 seconds here. They're on pace for stacking for a pretty early soul. They've got a very good mid-game team fight with the Rumble. If they can get any sort of lockdown here with the Sejuani and the Varus ultimates to keep people on that Rumble, then they should be on their way to look towards Dragon number 3 here. Some bounties on a couple members of TSM's heads they have to be a little bit cautious about, considering the work that Evil Genius have been able to do with some carry solo laners, but it looks like they're gonna make a teleport play out to the Dragon pretty early.
Jojo getting all the way back, recognizing that TSM was bringing a lot of guns after him, and he has to not get caught out here. They don't just want to give away this Drake, allow TSM to have a soul point status for the rest of the game. The TSM have control over the river. They've got the control ward in the pit. They know that EG can't see what's going on in there, at least. Drake going to be aggroed here by the side of TSM, as EG gonna look for an opportunity to collapse on these guys. Eyla over the wall. He's got the flash on Rakan. That's a big deal. TSM's gotta make sure they don't just get massively engaged on here with that AoE potential. EG putting their focus fire onto the Drake, and there it is, secured. Bugi tried to go in, but he doesn't even get value out of his own ulti. Now if Poppy can knock him out of the way, they can try to go in on everybody else. Bugi's already down below half. Equalizer onto the EG lines as Bugi barely gets away. Hauntzer wants to chase them, but they can't close the distance yet. Eyla continuing to try to provide an escape route for his team. TSM loses the Drake. EG's happy to steal it away with no fight.
Yeah, nobody actually goes down there. Objective acquired here for Evil Geniuses, and they make the cross-mat play now. Teleport up to the top side. They know there is no Rumble ultimate or Sejuani ultimate or Varus ultimate. All those big team fight ults for TSM are down currently, so EG want to force it.
And they also know that TSM just spent all their time setting up wards and control and priority over the bottom side river, so they're not going to have any foundational elements up here with the top side. TSM, though, they smell that something's going on. They know they got to try to get in here. Bugi phase check, but that's the tank. EG doesn't want to overcommit onto him. Piercing arrow flies out, but it won't find a target. EG now knows that that Baron call isn't going to work.
I love the tempo of this game, though. Now TSM are just going to start it out. So much damage received by Evil Geniuses by starting out themselves. Poppy Copter is a spinning.
Okay,
let's time out. He's going to have to wait for it now. 4K health on this Baron.
Baron down to 3K. TSM are sending it in for the Baron, but now they're going to go for the fight instead. They explode Sheiden. He will not give us the Baron deal. The Baron secured by TSM.
Massive, massive. TSM get the kill, and they get the Baron. Whew. They say thank you very much, Evil Geniuses, for teleporting out and sustaining damage on this Baron. We will be the ones to start it up, and they're the ones with the turn. Wow, huge, huge push now. TSM, they're looking like pretty good chances to push this to game number 5. Let's take another look at it. Hauntzer here, trying to keep them at bay with the Flame Spitter. And then it gets so low, EG get close, but the Rumble ultimate down the middle and Sejuani ultimate right onto Sheiden. Sheiden doesn't get the move. Sej ultimate stun, you are dead. TSM say thank you very much. We're gonna get pushing on your base now. It's only 22 minutes into the game, but wearing Baron, they can put this siege up.
Oh, nice catch there. Chains of Corruption forcing out the cleanse from Unforgiven. As soon as that ulti's back up there on the Varus, TSM's going to have plenty more opportunities to try to make a pick on that valuable carry for Evil Geniuses. Hauntzer just putting the work in. Down here in bottom lane, finally going to finish off the tier 1 over there. Meanwhile, Jojo's up in top, looking to take that tier 2. He knows that Evil Geniuses does not want to take a fair fight against TSM with the current state of the gold lead and the Baron. So instead, he's just going to trade as effectively as he can cross-map. But the Baron buff and more dudes being present means that TSM is always going to win these races. Bugi just making sure that nobody from EG can have any sort of position outside the walls as the TSM push continues. Hauntzer goes back to answer Jojo, and now the rest of TSM is going to back away. They know that Hauntzer has no unleashed teleport to come and join them, so they don't want to be caught in a bad spot.
TSM putting in a lot of work in the team fights here. Bugi, Sejuani coming up really big for them again. Evil Genius is trying to stay in it through the split pushing though. Again, they do have really good scaling split push solo laners here. Both the Yone and the Jax trying to scrape together as much money as they can. Jojo got payment in the form of the secondary tower down on the other side of the map, but here comes that Baron power. Turtle chipping away at the tower too. That thing will drop pretty soon.
One more hit on it, do it. Oh, and it's the cannon minion that guarantees the kill. Now Evil Geniuses have 2 exposed inhibitors because remember back at the 16-minute mark, the Herald charge ended up taking out the tier 3. So if TSM want to, they can just try to take 2 open fights here on the inhibs. Hauntzer's under pressure from Jojo, but TSM wants to turn it around onto the rest of Evil Geniuses. The equalizer is dropped, and Bugi kills Jojo. Eyla's on the run, and Boogie's buying time with a stopwatch. Sheiden has the bomb on his head. It's about to pop. Insanity gets the kill, and he's knocked away in the meantime. TSM get the fight. They get 2 kills. They get the inhib.
Yeah, they're going to keep on pushing. They've got plenty of Baron buff left. Only 13 seconds is needed. Nexus turret under attack.
Nexus turret number 1 below half HP. Eyla just needs to try to buy some time, slow down this TSM push. They got to be a little bit concerned here. The health bars are not looking entirely healthy, but Unforgiven and Revenge are having a hard time holding on. Insanity's turret-crushing power about to explode the last remaining tier 3. Revenge, he's not fed like he was 2 games ago. He's not going to be the one-man army to stop this. TSM get the first inhib, the other 2 are exposed, and now they're going to reset.
And the value TSM got off of that Baron play. Incredible damage dealt. Inhibitor down, one of the Nexus towers down, both other inhibitors exposed for Evil Geniuses. They're getting a little bit pressured here, a little bit. Uh-oh. Okay. Boogie's still poking around, but he knows they don't have a good reset timing here for TSM to be able to contest this dragon. They're going to have to give something with everything that they have taken recently, and Evil Geniuses will get that dragon number 2 for themselves with a little bit of extra gold from the objective bounty shutdown, but the inhibitors are going to become a problem here. The defense inside the base is kind of difficult for EG with the matchup here. TSM has such good structured team fighting, so much CC to be able to keep people on the Rumble ultimate and create space for Insanity's Tristana. 3-item power spike Tristana, by the way.
Tough stuff for EG. They got to try to defend these inhibs. TSM, they've got 1 minute and 40 seconds until Baron respawns on the map. They have total control over Summoner's Rift until then. I expect them to try to just establish complete vision control in this topside jungle. You can see they're already en route to doing that. We got some zombie wards, some control wards, some normal wards. You want some more wards? TSM's got wards. Wards all up in the jungle as Evil Geniuses is afraid to step out of the base.
Green wards, blue wards, pink wards, purple wards.
Yellow wards. We got all kinds of wards. There's a ward out there. TSM's placing it down in the EG jungle. They're going to steal away this red buff here too. WildTurtle will take that as Eyla and Sheiden are trying to just see if they can peek out of the base. Just pop your head out around the corner and see if you can detect anything going on here. But Boogie's saying, nope, no wards for you. That's our thing. Pops that one, walks back away. TSM applying pressure to a couple of different lanes here. Jojo's still split pushing in the bottom lane. The presence of the super minions does slow him down a little bit, but he's going to keep it up.
He's got some wards to teleport on behind them, but it's kind of risky with how far behind EG are with items right now. But he could teleport behind.
Turtle did get chunked, but Boogie's already going in. Equalizer comes down, and they're trying to find the kill. They already got it. Sheiden is down. Eyla is down. Revenge and Unforgiven trying to fight back as Jojo makes his entrance, but he's having to snap back. He's going to die to Turtle. That'll do it. TSM can just march it in from here. Revenge and Unforgiven will not be able to survive the 5-man onslaught. TSM didn't lose anybody. TSM is going to bring us to a game number 5, but they got some unfinished business first. Unforgiven and Revenge trying to battle back, forced back onto the fountain steps. Ladies and gentlemen, playoffs are starting with Silver Scrapes.
WildTurtle there in the first season for TSM. Back in for the final season, and they are not going to go down without a fight, Flowers. TSM push us to Silver Scrapes to game 5 with some really good adaptations in draft first and then in gameplay as well on the Rift. They ban away the Ahri, they take the Tristana for Insanity. Huge pressure. Out of the team fights though, it was Bugi, Sejuani ultimates getting so many picks for them. And here's another look at it. Turtle also had a lot of good follow-up here with the Varus ultimate. This is another one of Bugi's Sedge ults. They started out, they actually don't get the combo with the Rumble ultimate, but Hauntzer dealt so much damage going in himself, and with the Zhonya's, it was enough space. By the time that the Jojo teleport came in, he was already dead. Turtle goes for the snipe before the E-snapback even occurs.
Yep, it's just a corpse delivery system at that point. I thought for sure that it was just going to be a wait for him to snap back, but Turtle lost his patience. And TSM, they slammed the first game. They got slammed back in games 2 and 3, and now in number 4, a very close battle for a while there in the early game. But once they took control, they were able to maintain it. They had the nice Baron fight where they pop Sheiden, make sure that he's not going to steal that one away. They get a massive amount of momentum, and they are taking Evil Geniuses all the way to 5.
I gotta say, my player of the series for TSM side right now is Bugi as well.
Hell yeah.
He's done so much work for this team.
Dude has been smurfing. We're one series into the playoffs, and we already got some silver scrapes, but now we're headed to break. Game 5. Blech. It's on the other side. We'll see you there. Sheiden's going in for Turtle, knocking him up into the air with a point-blank uncharged keeper's verdict. Jojo's ready. Chime absorbs along with the haymaker, and now Jojo's gonna burn. Hauntzer's in the mix, and he's mixing up Evil Geniuses. Insanity jumps in with a rocket, and a vengeance has fallen comrade. It's a 3-for-1 for TSM. Hauntzer nearly has the equalizer. The cooldown is just about to be ready now. There it is. Not quite what he needed to kill Eyla, but he's got the flash for the follow. Jojo drops 2, and TSM's gonna give him something to smile about.